So the finale of Juuni Taisen is here, and to dive straight headfirst into it, I'm just gonna say, when the final minute was ticking down and it finally ended, I couldn't help but say in my mind, that was very anticlimactic. And just because I say that does not automatically mean that this finale was bad or the episode was bad. I'm just saying the reason why I thought that was because overall, in terms of, like, the possibility for future endeavors with characters, what Rat could possibly do, or anybody else, overall, it didn't feel like it concluded the big picture, the goal. Like, it didn't fill in the entirety of the picture. It just had the frame, and that's basically it. It didn't really conclude anything at all in terms of the grand scheme of stuff. It just concluded this Juuni Taisen, and that was it. Now, I do know that there is, like, another Juuni Taisen, I think a light novel series that, Nishio is making, and so most likely that will probably give the answers that I seek, but I'm just talking about from the standpoint of this anime and how the conclusion of it was. So, it was very anticlimactic, like I said. However, even though it was like that, I do like what they did with Rat's character, giving him characterization and development. It made me really appreciate this series. And even though the ending of the journey wasn't like, whoa, it was the journey that actually made me really like this series. Because thinking back on it, there was some things throughout the journey that I didn't like. I even admitted that while I was reviewing the series and all that. I said that some of these episodes I didn't like because they were getting very predictable, or how the characters, how they would die after, little information was given about them, they would die. Just all in all, when the series was progressing, some parts of it was a little bit bumpy. It was like, okay, this is not that good. But then it had those moments where it just jumped up and you're like, whoa, this is amazing. Like the Tiger and Ox stuff, and then what we had these past couple episodes, it's been amazing. And so, when I think about it like that, the journey overall of Juuni Taisen has been rather enjoyable. It's definitely, in some ways, it's tried to stay consistent. It's had its downfalls, especially with the art and animation department, and sometimes with the story department, but overall, it has tried to stay consistent, at least above, the really bad stuff, and it's remained in the part of this series that I actually keep up with for Fall of Anime 2017. So, in all, I have to say that I enjoyed the series, and knowing what I know now, especially even after this conclusion, I still would rewatch the series. I would definitely rewatch it. I would definitely enjoy it. It would still have certain problems I would probably dislike, but overall, I think I would still enjoy it and watch it to the very end. But anyway, so that being said, though, the reason why I like this episode and why I like the journey of the series now is because of the characterization that Rat got in this episode. Rat was like an enigma. We didn't really know what he was thinking at any point. We didn't really know what his objective, his goals were. We just knew he was the type of person that liked sleeping, staying out of things, and just, trying to survive at the end. We found out about that thanks to the last episode. So overall, we didn't really know much about his character. He is a very fascinating character, especially with his ability that was revealed last week, but overall, we didn't really know much about him at all, which made him a very mysterious character, and this episode gave insight to who he was, and why he did certain things the way he did, but also what he wanted to do once the Juuni Taisen was over. So the main point of this episode was the 100 wishes, or the 100 paths. That's basically what it was. Rat had to make a decision. What did he want to wish for after winning the Juuni Taisen? And one of the big things you could see is that he doesn't really have anything that he wants. You can see that from his character and the way he talks about different things. He doesn't really have anything he personally wanted. He had nothing for, like, let's say he didn't want immortality because he had his own reasons why he didn't want immortality. He didn't want eternal wisdom. He didn't want these certain things that seemed like really massive and big wishes. He even covered the topic of should he bring back all the people from the Juuni Taisen, and then he realized that wouldn't probably be a good idea because it would just be a mock version of the Juuni Taisen that just happened. If he was to bring back, Monkey and all that, would she really want to be brought back? Because if he was the only one to bring her back and all that, and she was the only one to come back, even though he brought her back because she was righteous, would it be a righteous thing to bring back a righteous person? So there was all these questions that continuously popped up, and every time he figured out something he might be able to wish for, he realized that there was a downside to that. And so it led him down this path, 100 paths basically, to figure out what he wanted. And we got to see insight to what he would do if he actually was to, choose one of these wishes. And overall, when he was trying to choose what he wanted, we got a little bit of insight of what he's already experienced prior to this episode. basically, since he has the ability to choose any path, 100 different paths and all that, that's the max limit he has, he's able to figure out, like, okay, like, this is the starting point, me sitting right here, okay? And I have 100 paths to choose from. I can either A, stand up and try to talk to you guys, or I could lay down, try to talk to you guys, or I could turn to the right, talk to you guys. Different paths, basically. It's a little bit on a smaller scale than what he was doing, but you get my point. Different paths and how he could have handled different situations, and he only could do it, like, 100 different paths. That's it. You couldn't do 101 paths, you couldn't do 1,000 paths, he only could do 100. And that's how he was able to figure out his, victory in the Juuni Taisen, is because he had to go through all 100 paths, and only one path was his victory where he actually survived. And in this case, we get to see that every path he went down, he remembers those paths. He doesn't forget about those paths. So, even though the majority of the people that are in the series and all that, like, our characters like Ox, Tiger, and all of them, even though they don't remember those paths that Rat erased, basically, Rat remembers them. And so that would mean that Rat got to learn a lot. He got to experience the Juuni Taisen 100 times. And all of those times, out of all those 100, 99 times he died. And so that would mean that he had to experience death 99 times, and he remembered how it felt to die those 99 times. You gotta imagine, that's gonna hold a lot of weight. Like, that's going to scar your mind if something like that happened. I mean, seriously, if you had to experience death 99 times, that right there is just a scary image in your mind. I mean, I can't even begin to comprehend how scary that really is. Like, the full extent of how scary that is. But then, going even further, though, he also expresses certain other things, too. It's not just death, but with his, overall power, his 100 paths, just because he could select different paths doesn't mean that the outcome could possibly change. For instance, let's say there was a giant meteor coming in, okay? A giant meteor from space coming in, and it was gonna land on the planet and then just, destroy everything, okay? No matter what he chose, out of all those 100 paths, nothing was probably gonna stop that. Nothing would probably stop that meteor from coming in. So in turn, that would mean the end result would still be the same. He would die. Everybody would die. So, right there, that lets us know that his ability doesn't automatically give him victory. It doesn't. There is still a possibility that he would have no way to reach the exit. It would be a complete dead end for him completely. And so that lets us know that this man, there was a possibility if he would have chose any of those wishes, out of those 100 wishes, if he would have chose any of them, it could have possibly have led to a dead end that could have been even worse than what something else could have been. So he didn't really know, because if you would have, let's say, chose to bring everybody back from the Juuni Taisen, it could have possibly have started up another Juuni Taisen, or it could have led to something else that could have been unavoidable, and there was nothing he could do to change it. So this is a constant reoccurring problem that happened every time he was deciding to pick a wish and what he wanted to wish for. He realized, like, all of these things have consequences, very bad consequences, that he could possibly never take back or change if he goes down that path. But then we also find out earlier on in his life, especially for a love life. As we see, Rat expresses that he had a crush on someone once. He actually loved someone, and he wanted to go out with them. And in this case, he asked this girl out. And he tried over 100 times to ask this girl out, but in the end result, she never accepted his declaration of love. He was always dumped, or, basically said, like, no, I'm sorry, I can't go out with you. And he had to experience that feeling over 100 times by the same girl. Different paths. He tried different things. He tried to be forceful, shy, he tried to be prideful. He tried everything he could to be able to get her, but there was nothing he could do. Because of that, that lets us know once again that he had to experience these emotions over 100 times, but also he had to realize that there was just a dead end. There was no way to get what he wanted. So right there, that is the scary part about that, his ability. It's more like a curse than a blessing when you really think about it. And a step further than that, he also mentioned, like, okay, so since I can only do 100 paths, why don't I do, like, something where I increase my ability where I could do 1,000 paths? That seems like a logical, wish. That does seem like that would be a very smart thing to do. But once again, this doesn't stop one of the big things that is in the room, the elephant in the room. Once again, let's go back to what I previously said. If a meteor was coming in from outer space to land on the planet, no matter what he chooses in those 1,000 paths, most likely he's going to reach a dead end. So, that would mean that he would have to experience that suffering of the meteor coming in 1,000 times over, instead of just 100. So, it would be a lot worse. His pain and suffering would be a lot worse than what it was already, prior to that. So, that is why he didn't choose the 1,000 paths, because he didn't want to experience that. Because if it could happen with 100 paths, it could happen with 1,000 paths. in a discussion. So, anyways, with all that being said, though, we also got to mention the fact that this man, in the end result, after thinking about this really hard, like his mind was just thinking about what he had to choose, he came to the conclusion that he wanted to forget. It was his only real selfish wish that he wanted. Out of all those wishes, it was the only selfish one, and it was the only one that actually makes logical sense. There's some problems with that wish, but overall, it's the only one that actually makes sense, fits with his character, but also would be a way to kind of settle the matter in a very peaceful way, especially with Rat's character and his development at that. So Rat comes to the conclusion he wants to forget everything. He wants to forget the Juuni Taisen. He wants to forget everybody in the Juuni Taisen. He just wants to be done with it. He doesn't want to remember the wishes or anything like that. So that means that effectively he's sweeping his problems under the rug. He never has to tackle those problems because he will never remember them. And in some ways, many might call him a coward. Many might say he took the easy way out, forgetting everything for he doesn't have to tackle those problems. And in a lot of ways, I agree with that. I agree with that assessment, and people saying that he took the easy way out and, he chickened out because he just didn't want to deal with the stress or struggle of choosing a different path. But that was the thing, though. You got to imagine from his perspective of how he could view those paths and what would have happened on 100 different paths if he would have chose them. It would have been awful. It'd have been really awful. So, the only way he could stop from grieving and thinking about this, because his entire character was designed to constantly think about the other things that could possibly happen, the negatives, that would mean that he just couldn't stop from thinking about the bad things. So the only way to fix that was to just forget everything. And so even though he ran away, even though in a way he chickened out and he was a coward, he did the only path that actually makes sense, that would seem like if anyone really could put a lot of thought into it, would actually make. I mean, if you could put a lot of thought into what path you should take, as much as Rat probably did, you'd probably choose the exact same option. You probably would. And so, I can't really fault the man for that, which leads in a way, if you look at it, it looks like he's been enlightened at the end of the episode. When, the series ends, he's smiling, he's sleeping. In a lot of ways, you can look at it as if he's enlightened. Like, he has reached the path of enlightenment, and I feel like that's the message here. He no longer desires anything, or he doesn't desire for those wishes or anything, and he's enlightened, he doesn't care about it, and so now he is at peace. He's at peace within himself. So I feel like that's the message there. I feel like that's enlightenment going on. I could be wrong, but that's what it looked like to me. But yeah, overall, I think the Juuni Taisen episode, the finale, it was a pretty good episode. I'd say in terms of just character development and characterization for Rat and all that, easily one of the best. Easily the best episode of the series. Easily one of the best. However, in terms of story-wise, like the actual big picture here, it wasn't that good. But if we ever do get a sequel or a prequel, I definitely will watch it. It's a fun series. It is a really fun series. It has its problems, but it is fun, and I would definitely love to see a continuation in some shape or form. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you don't like this video, well, leave a dislike as well. Now, last thing to mention before I end this video. So, next to the subscribe button, there is a bell icon. Now, I've already said this in recent videos, but I'm just doing this once again as an FYI for those that are unaware. If you've ever noticed that when one person you subscribe to, when they upload something, you don't get notified in your email or whatever, well, the reason for that is because you got to hit the bell icon next to the subscribe button. Now, even if you don't care to do that for my channel, do it for the videos and stuff I upload, at the very least, do it for the channels you care about. It does help them out, because for some reason the subscribe button does not work anymore, and so the only way to truly get properly notified about anything someone uploads is to click the bell icon. So even if you don't do it for me, do it for the channels you care about. It helps them out a lot. So love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.